So I was playing around with the microphone the other day, doing what any good Latina from South Texas is doing on the weekend. Some Selena karaoke. And I was just joking around with the microphone, and I was kind of like, this feels kind of right. I was born both into music and ministry. I know the power of a microphone. It's been a while for me to pick one up with any real intention, but I decided to dust off my vocal cords and I was interrupted by a fly. It was kind of funny and I thought, why not? In general, my everyday life is like a variety show anyways. I sing, I dance, I talk some shit. Using a microphone is just a formality. I decided to take a moment to address some real concerns in the world. Did you know that having a big butt causes problems? It causes problems. Being curvy causes problems. I know you might laugh and dismiss at what might seem like my personal, trivial concern, especially in the era where people are making financial investments to acquire curves, but it's a thing. Even at 95 pounds, I am petite and curvy. What a problem to have, right? My butt is mostly a genetic gift from my mother. Yes, I got it from my mama. I think it's a great irony that while my body is an extrovert, I grew up so conservatively Christian in a protective Latin household. Make sure your clothes are adjusted properly. Be aware of your surroundings all of the time. I think that type of upbringing can create a different type of hyper self-awareness for a young woman, much less a curvy woman who still draws attention in a potato sack. To top that off, while I don't think that I fall on the autistic scale, I have recently found out that I identify as a highly sensitive person, which people might hear and go, oh, so you're one of those people that gets offended really easily? I would say, no. The opposite is actually true because I understand people in a different type of way. I have given people grace past their limits. I learned early on in adulthood that most adults are assholes, and a lot of us teach our kids to be assholes. I realize that this is not intentional. I think we have literally all been conditioned to be assholes. I think as we age, we come to understand how much of an asshole we are and make choices on how much to indulge in that part of ourselves. And at that point, may the force be with you, because that road doesn't often lead to true happiness. I would say even less so for the assholes trying to manipulate their will on other people constantly. My sensitivities lead me often to have the opposite reactions than intended, especially towards me. I find myself often amused, disappointed, or embarrassed at how we behave with each other. Because I identify as a socially awkward introvert with abnormal observational skills, I can be quite good at extroverting when I try. Oh, the irony. Me, my backside, and my perspective need vacation often from adulting, and I think that's where my other defining personality trait comes into play often. My sense of humor, which I think is the most interesting thing about me personally, but that's debatable depending on your personal priorities. Booties are a lot of people's priorities. We live in an era of people not only buying, but building booties through weight training. I find this fascinating. I've been lifting for a very long time. I've spent a good portion of my life thinking that my ass was supposed to be smaller, not bigger, and just not caring and wanting to be strong, or annoyed with the inconvenience of it all at times. Like Beyonce says, if you don't jump to put jeans on, then you don't feel my pain. And having a big ass is a pain in the ass. I fully support whoever feels like they need to be caked up Sunday afternoon, Monday afternoon, every afternoon, should they choose. But it's a choice that literally holds weight. Other than genetics, I'm sure my backside is also influenced by my interest in trying to be a badass in one way or another since I was a kid. I'm one of those people that always seems like they're training for something competitive, or like I have some serious inner demons. I've been moving heavy weight now in the gym for over 20 years. I love feeling strong and powerful. It is addictive. I started lifting like that when there wasn't very many women, except for an occasional bodybuilding competitor. My big butt's been on the weight room floor, a lone ranger of estrogen-infused energy in a testosterone-saturated environment with tunnel vision and on a mission. To say it's been really cool and exciting to see the amount of women lifting these past years now in different disciplines is an understatement. I love the amount of women in general that are freely being badass and pushing all of the boundaries. In my life, I've been a dancer, a weightlifter, a yogi, a Pilates enthusiast, a wannabe boxer, swimmer, badass skater, like my derby fam, and a general movement junkie. A lot of these things at the same time, and I've trained for about 15 years intentionally in what I would now categorize as functional bodybuilding. I blend heavy lifts, dance, Pilates, yoga, functional movements, and whatever else feels good or makes sense for what I'm trying to do in that time period. I'm one of those people walking backwards, squatting with my knees over my toes, doing dance movements between sets of heavy lifts and doing other uncommon movement things that makes people wonder if you are weird or you just want attention. I am weird, and no, I don't want attention. Even though my butt might be jiggling in a way that you might be thinking it's waving a greeting, it's unintentional. Because when I am not graceful, I am awkward and clumsy, and I sweat a lot. If you feel inspired by the movement, I don't mind observers, but I will be concentrating on dying a little because I plan on re-emerging the next day, She-Hulk or Wonder Woman. Just depends on how I feel. The science of what we now know is physically possible with the human body is rapidly changing in the best ways. With the introduction of more functional calisthenic and athletic movement becoming slowly more mainstream these past years, there are now more people doing weird shit in conventional spaces. I absolutely love it. I've been living for all of the cross-training information, vibes, and application, excited for all of the people whose lives could possibly be transformed by the possibility of being mobile, strong, or even competitive again. If you've ever been injured, had chronic pain, or just felt generally unhealthy, this is your era. You might have mourned the loss of your old self already. Good. This new person is even better than who that person was. You can rebuild with better reinforcement from the ground up. Training all the way from the professional couch potato to the professional athlete. Athletes rehabbing injuries like never before. Super athletes being molded by the introduction of new movement. Our young athletes preparing their bodies for competition like never before. Our children, my daughters, my daughter. Where the other daughter come from? What this means for all competitive sports at every level is so exciting. I'm fully geeked out over the influx of information all of the time. There is not enough time in the day. Now there are full communities of people connected to physical therapists, chiropractors, strength and conditioning coaches, trainers, or just super knowledgeable people that are developing their own movement style training that are figuring shit out everywhere. In a lot of ways, living a mostly healthy lifestyle in my lifetime has helped my overall health and kept me looking younger, I believe. I'm also the size of a large child, so there is also that. Even when I wasn't doing things perfectly or not how I wanted to at all, I never let go of my overall goal of working towards being healthy, even if it was just eating more nutritiously more of the time than not, and those deposits have added up over time. I've always been a person that was motivated to eat healthy when I was consistently moving, and I've enjoyed all of the extra calories that comes with attempting to be badass. I would say this is more specific to when I started lifting. I love food. I sing to food. I dance for and with my food. I love different places, the change of seasons and holidays for food. I love the taste of food that you make specifically for certain flavors. Like so many people, I have such a strong emotional connection to food. But we've been programmed to have the most dysfunctional relationships with food. For the longest time, it has been a sign of superiority to be able to go without food for extremely long periods of time on a regular basis, especially for women. Not even on a search for profound spiritual healing, but because malnourishment leads to us being skinny. In mainstream nutrition, we are just coming to understand that talking about food being nutritious carries much more meaning than we have truly dedicated energy to In the past, if someone said to you, if you ate healthier, you would be prettier, do everything better, have better sex, and age slower, why would we not? We have spent lifetimes not fueling our bodies, depriving ourselves of quality nutrients, and we wonder why we have issues. The nutrients we consume affect our hormones, which in turn affect our emotions. We are quite literally eating ourselves into bad relationships with ourselves and how we feel overall, but also how we interact with the people around us. I'm fairly certain the greater majority of the population has some type of eating disorder. I have had and still have an eating disorder. Even when I started eating more, when I was lifting, I was still not eating enough for all that I would do. And I have done a shit ton. Looking back, I have no idea how I have done all that I have, being undernourished, and it makes my inner superhero wonder what more I could have done. Dealing with injuries, I have struggled and I have questioned if I would function normally, much less be anywhere near as athletic as I have been in the past. There was a point that I couldn't stand or even walk for long periods of time. You feel broken, you feel old. I was in my 20s when these issues really started giving me problems. I felt defective. And food is so yummy. It is a temporary high enjoying and looking forward to food. But the weight that you gain as a side effect causes more stress, and understand why people develop or dive into the bad habits. It's a temporary distraction that snowballs into long-term issues. I wallowed, I ate, I attempted, I researched, I pivoted, and kept trying different things and really immersed myself in that. And I've come to know many great chiropractors, coaches, and therapists, pulling information over the years until more stuff started working than not working, and I was off. And I think that's really kind of a parallel to life. If you keep pivoting when things don't go right, you learn more and more about the world and about yourself. You become stronger in ways you didn't realize were possible. And sometimes you pivot so much, you feel like a fucking prima ballerina. And guess what? Maybe you are now. When I started lifting, it became like a personal experiment to see how strong I could get. And there are so many possibilities with that, so many paths that you could take that are really cool and interesting and just plain badass. And I love seeing the content of much older people picking up strength training that are killing it. They're just eating nutritiously and being consistent and putting in the work. A good amount of people are in it for the aesthetics, for the juicy peach, which is admittedly a thing. Nobody is protesting when somebody looks like a Greek god or goddess, but personally I enjoy feeling strong. It's not just the feeling strong part, but the functionality of it all. Once I was helping a family member move a sofa out for heavy trash day. The trash people were almost in the front of the house, and we still had a long way to go. I asked them to step aside and just started flipping it like a tire down the driveway. Made it right on time. The trashman didn't know what to think. I'm sure it was funny to watch. So it's not just about appearing fit, but actually staying healthy, maintaining our quality of life, being strong and capable, and hopefully thriving. Half of my training now is still at a commercial gym where I can't help but laugh a little when the occasional high school girl gives me the side eye like I'm going to steal her boyfriend. Let's go with the no. Often as we get older, have children, or take on careers, and we feel that staying healthy is for the young or for those that have the luxury of extra time. I would argue that as we age and manage life responsibilities and goals, maintaining our health is now more important than ever. We are all athletes in life with that goal in mind. As parents, we have to be healthy and strong to protect and guide our kids. Even our older generations, I would again argue that we need you here longer. Your usefulness is actually priceless. We need you to provide guidance to the generations that know the world in a completely different, hands-off way. I get it. A lot of people are just ready to tap out and relax at a certain age, get lost in Margaritaville, or they feel like they are old and therefore not useful. Contrary to what a lot of my counterparts think or feel, I'm actually not ready for our most current generations to take the wheel. We are spoiled, We are privileged. We are clueless. We lack perspective that only life experience can bring. If we had a major event that truly threatened our existence and survival, I am convinced that most of us would perish. For lack of Starbucks and Wi-Fi, it would threaten the reality and sanity of humans that conveniently forget that we didn't always have indoor plumbing, electricity, cars, or even walk upright. Our modern conveniences take us farther and farther away from our skills and information that ensure our basic survival. I propose content houses for the old, or should I say seasoned, of this world. I have no idea how that would work, but somebody needs to make that happen. We will only human most effectively with using the past as a reference, sometimes as a guide on what not to do, sometimes as an outline, sometimes as a hybrid inspiration of the combination of the old and the new. I feel incredibly fortunate to be a part of the generation that I'm from. I've known the world just before the internet started really making a really big impact and all the steps in between. When I was a kid, you had to be rich and carry a suitcase to have a cell phone. And then they got really small, and then they got big. And I look at the world and wonder what it will be like in 20 years. I wonder what body type will be trending then. And there it is. It always comes back to the booty. But it always does if we're being honest. Do you know that curves are literal biological triggers that cause chemical responses? Childbearing hips are a thing. But this trigger requires much more awareness and maturity now that we no longer sleep in caves. I'm convinced a lot of women don't know what they're buying into when they make changes to their bodies to have curves. Understand the why though. When women look in the mirror, we want to look beautiful to ourselves first of all. And we are our own worst enemy and never good enough. And then secondly, we compare ourselves to other women who are doing the exact same thing. It's a crazy cycle of self-violence that is never ending. And thirdly, we are worried about attracting a type of person we can be happy with on partially our alluring features, hoping with the fat ass he can also see our big hearts. The ironic thing about all of this is how we look is actually the smaller piece of the puzzle to finding genuine happiness. Feeling confident is important, but being confident and attractive and even successful doesn't guarantee true fulfillment and happiness. Unfortunately, it's more complicated than that. And people tend to worry about that stuff later in life when we have less time to enjoy each other for all the good, bad, and in between. And then at 85, we were like, hey, maybe I shouldn't have been a superficial asshole. Existing in society is complicated as a woman. We have made some big strides in these past 5 or 10 years, but it would still fall into various degrees of mindfuck. Be pretty, but not too pretty. Be smart, but not too smart. Be the woman you want to marry, but you should also secretly be the woman I want to fuck. Or that person should be a completely separate person that you don't know about because you must embody purity. Being prepackaged curvy before it was a fad has made me an easy target for basic energy my whole life that can be directed at women for no good reason other than just existing, at times from both sexes. And I want to go on record saying that this isn't everyone all the time. I've come to understand and categorize the type of attention we give each other. And I will say the greater majority have no ill intent or insecure judgment. We literally just don't know how to communicate our interests because most of us live within dated ways of thinking that dictate how we should express interest or admiration, how we socialize, befriend, date, mate, and find life partners. Weaponizing sexuality is for a vanilla mind. Think about that for a minute. I don't say that as an insult, mostly, but as a moment for self-awareness. Humans are meant to reproduce, designed to attract each other, but we have all been conditioned to specific thought processes that limit the way we look at each other. Keep some of us, maybe a lot of us, basic. And with that said, our love life's basic. That is no fun. Imagine a world where the woman that you want to marry and want to fuck is the same person. And better still, imagine a world where women could feel free to be both. And even better still, both people understanding themselves enough that what they really want is each other, not a trick or a sleight of hand. And when I say this, I am not calling for all women to immediately display your assets unless that's what you want to do. What I am saying is feeling free to understand yourself, your sexuality, and what that means to yourself or your current or future partner. And if you don't have any idea what that means to you, no matter your age, figure it out. Every day is a new day to figure shit out. I've been on a journey of trying to figure out the best way to communicate what I have to say about a lot of important subjects. And I could go on a fully serious route, which I'm not gonna lie, I thoroughly enjoy. In my adulthood, I have come to appreciate, enjoy, even revel in my nerdiness. But addressing the elephant in the room, or should I say the ass in the room, my ass, which always seems to precede me, seemed like it made more sense. Say or think what you want about Kim Kardashian, but she has, in her own way, paved the way for women to come out and be sexy and smart in a significant way. There is no denying that she is both smart and beautiful. Big butts can do a lot of things, but they cannot magically free people of color from incarceration. How annoying, right? How dare anyone be sexy and intelligent? I don't think her and her family always are perfect or do the right thing, but they are smart in doing what a lot of women strive to do. Create wealth, opportunities, and seemingly stable and safe environments for their children. For every woman that is banked on their beauty in recorded history, countless women have been abused and mistreated. It is a fact that Kim's fame was kicked off by a scandal. Was it really that scandalous? The trend of being young, dumb, and recording private moments really had an uptick during that period, thanks to cameras not needing a full team of people to man them. Cameras get smaller, and what's the first thing people do? Record as much porn as they can on their handy portable cameras. It just became something that men could brag about and something that could be used against women to devalue them. And it seems like her ex-husband still holds it against her, which I find incredibly ironic. Don't a lot of rappers have full libraries of sex tapes? Isn't that the source content for a lot of their lyrics? Isn't this the same rapper that rapped about bleaching his shirt because he fucked a model who just bleached her asshole? I'm lost. Are we really worried about being the best role model, past and present, for your kids? Or are you teaching your children to understand that they should live in a world where it's okay for men to do things and women should be held to a different standard? Listen, do what you do, but let's not act like we have moral high ground when it's actually the Mariana Trench. Even in our most recent history, across the board, women who have become significant figures have swam against strong tides and still do. More often than not, paid prices, had experiences, and made sacrifices that would make most people uncomfortable to even mention. It's unfortunate, but often we have to experience hardship firsthand to truly understand and have thoughtful opinions on different subjects. Even then, we forget so quickly in our desire to fit in or not seem difficult. Our most recent generations are gifted and cursed with the privilege of not experiencing the hardships of their parents, the price that has been paid for freedoms. In every culture within our own families, we experience racism, colorism, and various isms, much less getting outside into the world. Women still have the craziest shit said to them in casual conversation, much less behavior directed at them, even in what should be professional settings, from a professional, with other people listening or observing. And we still brush that shit off just to make situations tolerable. And that is just one page in a very large book in a gigantic library that holds the story of countless experiences people have all of the time. There is so much judgment from other people, other women, including myself, that couldn't possibly understand why women objectify themselves. This judgment is reserved for people who possess bias or deeply misogynistic viewpoints they may not even realize they have been conditioned to have. Not that long ago, we were literally bought and sold. Even until the past century or so, even in the US. In some countries, we still are. Male advertisers have stayed making money off of our likenesses for change, if even that. How dare a woman make money off of her own likeness? Kris Jenner has been able to accomplish what few people, men and women, have tried to do in history. Create a whole family of not just influential people, but influential sisters that coexist semi-peacefully. That is a Mexican miracle. Money, beauty, and influence, what more could you need? Oh, but we still need so much more, my beautiful fellow women and men of this world. Well, money can buy the gorgeous homes in the gated communities under armed guard, private schools to shelter our children from the world. It doesn't buy real protection. Even in the best scenarios, we lack important guidance in so many areas of life. To make it worse, people are afraid to ask for help when they need it. They might even ask for it and still not get it. There have been a lot of times in my life that I have felt very alone. I was very naive and vulnerable to people that could smell that vulnerability a mile away. And maybe because I seemed like the type of person that would have their shit together, when I finally allowed myself to, I reached out for guidance and even cried in front of people whose actual positions were to provide guidance. During and after these times, I didn't really fully understand my very real, very scary brushes with different situations that could have taken me to bad places. And in some ways it did. And I have learned things about people and the world I wish my child never to experience herself. The truth of the matter is that all people are vulnerable to all types of situations all of the time. Products of our limited environment, walking around clueless like we know everything. Knowing what I know now about so many things in life, I observe various know-it-all versions of myself walking around all of the time. What a clueless little shit I was. Once we turn 18, we are legally adults. I'm convinced it's when we actually leave college, your parents' home, or whatever situation that you are reliant on to support your transition into adulthood, do our minds truly start to process true adulting. So in that way, we are still mentally very young. All of the things that were instilled into you are there, but this is you driving at the wheel. Come to find out when you get older, age, money, titles, status, even when those things apply to someone whose actual position is to embody moral superiority, even if it's a person that has their beliefs tattooed on their bodies, don't equate to a person being emotionally or even mentally mature or even a good person. I know that might cut some people deep, especially that last one. It does beg the question, what the fuck has actually been going on? I think it starts with we all have these ideals about who we are and aren't supposed to be, reinforced by people around us who also have their own specific ideals about adulting, which may or may not be right, healthy, or even realistic. I think if you're lucky, this is how your mental maturity timeline goes. 20s, you're trying to figure out how to be a good person, not realizing how much of an asshole you might be. 30s, you're fully figuring out who that person is and what they really need or want, actively trying not to be an asshole. 40s, hopefully we have some shit figured out, are enjoying what that means fully, shaking our heads at our former asshole ways. We really need an additional 10, 20 years somewhere about there, because I think this is where so many things become so much easier. In the midst of that, we have children that we are supposed to show how to be good people when we are still trying to figure it out ourselves. If you let them, often they will show you how easy it is to see the world from an unbiased perspective, how incredibly unique it is to observe these little humans navigate the world in their own ways. My own daughter amazes me all of the time, and it makes me sad to think about the amount of people in our recent generations who don't want children. I don't think that childbearing equates to your wholeness as a person, but I also think there is a larger percentage of people who don't want to have children because of their own life experiences. I think we haven't learned how to love ourselves, each other, and then down the line children. And now in modern times we communicate so freely. Come to find out there's a lot of unhappy, unfulfilled people. And some people come to the conclusion it's just too difficult to figure out, and we just don't want to repeat the pain. What a loss. It has now gotten to the point that Nick Cannon and Elon Musk have made it their personal responsibilities to repopulate the planet. What a burden we could relieve from them if we could figure some shit out. I truly believe that in this life you're either smart or lucky. If you get things really good, you're both. We have been conditioned to be so fickle and judgmental to each other. Without freedom to communicate, a lot of people never find a way to work past negative experiences. History and human nature did and have always played a huge part of me trying to get a grip on life. Simply because I have quite often been stuck between what the fuck and why the fuck. Truly. History gives us a glimpse into the good, bad, ugly, uglier, and beautiful reasons why things exist as they did and currently do. Human history, our own personal history and background. It's not always the story we want to hear, tell, or feel proud of, but it provides a sequence of events that leads us to where we stand now. My personal past is riddled with me trying to find a way to save everyone, including myself, through religion, through money, to create opportunities and stability. A savior complex because there has to be some absolute and specific answers, right? But the answer is there are no absolutes, except for we are absolutely accountable for our actions in the here and now, today. Knowledge and the understanding it can bring are power. It is yours for the taking if you choose to look at the world around you from that vantage point. One of the most important and freeing realizations that I have had is that people judge each other on things that they have no life experience or perspective on. We do it to the people closest to us most of the time. We are all walking unique paths based on our individual backgrounds that are rooted in gifts and deficiencies we were born into, circumstances, experiences, cultures, and upbringing. What that means is that you looking at me right now, are absolutely and completely special and one of a kind. We all have specific fingerprints that we leave on this world. Oftentimes we have no business judging things about each other we quite literally don't have on the facts on. And yeah, we do, sometimes with such finality and destructiveness. And how is this productive? In the bigger picture of how we create a better world for our future generations. We have so much more to offer each other than that. I believe it with every fiber of my being. The fact of the matter is, we are all wrong and right sometimes. We are all hypocrites, saints, and sinners. Some things more than others at different points in time. It's like watching a movie in black and white and then seeing it in color, or seeing things two-dimensionally or in 3D. We are all individually colorful and beautifully complicated, whether or not we choose to admit it. Some things are not what they seem. Some are exactly what they look like. And most importantly, the scenery in this movie we call life is constantly moving, seasons changing, characters developing. If you have made it this far, I hope that you have enjoyed this journey of shit talking and rediscovery. I hope you come to appreciate not only my fat ass, but my big heart. So I'm gonna need for you to like, subscribe, add, follow, whatever applies to whatever app you just happen to be seeing me on right now. Ciao.